On September 14, 2007, a 14-year-old boy left his home in Doncaster dressed for school. Within hours, he had withdrawn £200, changed his clothes, boarded a train to London, and stepped out of King's Cross station alone. The cameras captured him entering the city, but they never captured a confirmed next chapter. Andrew Gosden appeared in the crowd at King's Cross, walked through the station exit, and vanished into London. Andrew was not known as a reckless child who regularly disappeared without explanation. His family remembered him as quiet, highly intelligent, interested in books, mathematics, video games, and music, with a mind capable of handling complex calculations quickly. He was also physically distinctive in ways that later became important to the search. Andrew was deaf in his left ear, had difficulty identifying the direction of sounds, wore strong glasses, and had an unusual double ridge on his right ear. Nothing about those details explains why he left, but they remind us that Andrew was not simply a figure in a distant security image. He was a real child with recognizable habits, physical characteristics, family relationships, and a life that should have continued beyond that Friday morning. The day began in a way that looked ordinary from outside the house. Andrew left home in his school clothes, creating the impression that he was beginning the same routine he had followed many times before. But Andrew did not continue to school. He separated from his normal route and went to a cash machine, where he withdrew £200 from his account. He then returned home while the house was empty, changed out of his uniform, and prepared to leave again. His school clothes were left behind, while he put on a black t-shirt and jeans and carried a shoulder bag decorated with music-related patches. That return home suggests more than a spontaneous decision made while walking to school. Andrew appears to have understood that he was going somewhere his school uniform would not fit, and he took enough time to create the appearance that he had left normally before changing course. Still, the preparation was incomplete. Andrew reportedly took his wallet, keys, and PlayStation Portable, but left the device's charger, his passport, and additional money he had saved at home. Those choices create one of the case's first contradictions. He had enough money and planning to reach London, but he did not pack like someone preparing for a long absence. Andrew left the house for the final time and walked toward Doncaster railway station. No parent drove him, no friend was confirmed to be traveling with him, and no known adult appeared to be guiding the journey. At the station, he asked for a ticket to London. The clerk reportedly offered a return ticket for only a small additional cost, but Andrew declined it and purchased a single ticket instead. That decision has become one of the most repeated details in the case. A one-way ticket can suggest that someone does not expect to return, but it can also reflect a teenager making a rigid decision without considering the cheaper or more practical option. Andrew boarded the train at approximately 9:35 a.m. and traveled south alone. A passenger later remembered a quiet boy focused on his handheld game console, looking more like an independent teenager on a journey than a child visibly in distress. This is another reason the case is so difficult. Nothing publicly confirmed from the train journey reveals fear, coercion, urgency, or a person controlling his movements. For nearly 2 hours, Andrew moved through a system filled with staff, passengers, cameras, tickets, platforms, and announcements. His journey to London was traceable because trains create records and stations concentrate people into visible spaces. Then the train reached King's Cross, and the trail began to disappear. Andrew arrived at approximately 11:20 a.m. and was captured leaving the station around 5 minutes later. The footage shows him emerging through the station entrance carrying his bag and moving with the crowd. There is no obvious adult beside him and no visible moment that explains where he intended to go. That image is powerful because it appears so normal. Andrew does not seem to be running, hiding, struggling, or being pulled away. He simply walks forward into one of the largest cities in Europe. At 11:25 that morning, the documented journey effectively ends. Missing People states that Andrew was last seen at King's Cross Station, and South Yorkshire Police has said that no later positive sighting has ever been confirmed. The question is what Andrew believed would happen next. Did he know exactly where he was going, or had his plan ended the moment he arrived in London? Andrew had visited London with his family before and had relatives in the wider area, so the city was not completely unknown to him. He may have understood the transport system and known enough landmarks to move confidently without asking for help, but familiarity can also create false confidence. Knowing parts of a city during family visits is very different from navigating it alone at 14, carrying cash and without anyone knowing where you are. One possibility is that Andrew had planned a private day out. He loved music and was interested in museums, books, games, and events that could have given him a reason to travel to London without wanting his parents to know. Perhaps he believed he would explore the city and return later, finding another ticket or contacting home once the adventure was over. This could explain the small bag and the charger left behind, but it does not explain why he declined the return ticket or why he never called. The problem with this theory is that no destination has ever been confirmed. No shop, concert, museum, gathering, or event has produced a verified record of Andrew being there. Another theory is that Andrew intended to meet someone. The precision of the journey, the money, the clothing change, the direct train and the one-way ticket, can look like the actions of a child traveling toward a planned appointment. That person could have been someone Andrew knew from ordinary life or someone he had communicated with without his family's knowledge. But no confirmed correspondence, account, message, or known relationship has publicly revealed such a meeting. In 2007, secret communication did not have to leave the same kind of visible digital trail expected today. Public computers, gaming communities, school access, shared devices, or communication through people rather than personal accounts could be difficult to reconstruct later. However, a lack of evidence is not proof that grooming occurred. The possibility is disturbing because of Andrew's age and unexplained destination, but it must remain a theory rather than a confirmed part of the story. A third theory is that Andrew traveled alone for his own reasons and encountered danger only after arriving. A visibly young traveler with cash, no adult, and no one expecting him at a specific time could have appeared vulnerable to an opportunistic predator. The encounter may not have looked threatening at first. Someone could have offered directions, companionship, transport, a place to stay, or access to an event Andrew wanted to attend. That is how real danger often enters ordinary situations, not through an obvious chase, but through an interaction that initially feels helpful. Yet no confirmed witness or suspect has established that Andrew met such a person. There is also the possibility that Andrew experienced an accident or medical emergency after leaving the station. London contains transport networks, waterways, private buildings, construction areas, and countless locations where an unidentified young person could become separated from his belongings or identity. But accidental death also fails to provide a complete explanation. Andrew's disappearance received national attention, and no confirmed body, hospital record, or unidentified person case has publicly been matched to him. The voluntary disappearance theory asks whether Andrew intended to leave his former life completely. South Yorkshire Police has appealed directly to Andrew and asked the public to consider adults with incomplete personal histories who might match his distinctive characteristics. This theory offers hope that he survived, but it presents enormous practical difficulties. A 14-year-old would need shelter, money, food, protection, and eventually a way to work, receive medical care, or function without revealing his original identity. Someone would probably have needed to help him, especially during the earliest weeks. For Andrew to remain undiscovered for years, that assistance or secrecy would have to continue without producing a confirmed trace. Police later emphasized Andrew's unusual right ear, hearing loss, strong prescription glasses, quick quiet speech, and intelligence. These details were intended to help people recognize the adult Andrew might have become, even if his hairstyle, glasses, or name had changed. Age-progressed images carry a particular kind of sadness. They do not show what a missing child became, they show what experts imagine time might have done to a face that disappeared too soon. For Andrew's parents, every new image requires imagining an adult son they have not been able to watch grow older. The child in the King's Cross footage remains 14, while his family and the rest of the world continue moving through time. Missing People continues to list Andrew as missing and offers him confidential support if he is alive and ready to make contact. The message is not presented as an accusation or demand, but as an open route to safety. That open invitation matters because the possibilities are not all criminal. A missing person may remain away because of fear, shame, dependence on another person, uncertainty about how to return, or a belief that too much time has passed. Yet there has been no confirmed response from Andrew. South Yorkshire Police stated in its appeal that many people resembling him had been reported, but no positive sighting had ever been established. Unconfirmed sightings can keep hope alive, but they can also pull families through repeated cycles of expectation and disappointment. Every report must be checked, and every mistaken identification ends with the same unanswered absence. The delay in identifying the King's Cross footage also affected the early investigation. Public accounts state that Andrew was not located on station CCTV until weeks after the disappearance, by which time other footage around London may no longer have been available. That delay may have erased the best chance of following Andrew beyond the station. Had nearby cameras been reviewed immediately, they might have shown whether he entered the underground, boarded a bus, met someone, or continued walking. Instead, the last confirmed image became a doorway rather than a route. It shows Andrew entering London, but not which direction the city took him afterward. The school's response also contained an early mistake. Public accounts state that when Andrew failed to attend class, the school attempted to contact his family but accidentally reached the wrong household, delaying the moment his parents understood he was absent. That error did not cause the disappearance, but it shortened the period in which Andrew's family might have believed he was safely at school. By the time the truth was clear, he had already reached London. This case is therefore built from several gaps, not only one. There is the gap between leaving for school and withdrawing the money, the gap between arriving in London and choosing a destination, and the final gap after the station camera lost him. Each known step appears deliberate. Andrew returned home, changed his clothes, collected selected belongings, bought a ticket, boarded the correct train, and exited at King's Cross. But deliberate movement does not necessarily mean a complete plan. A teenager can organize the beginning of an adventure without understanding the risks waiting at the destination. That distinction is important. Andrew may have known exactly how to reach London while having no safe plan for what would happen there. The one-way ticket often receives the most attention, but it may not be the key people imagine. Andrew could have expected to buy another ticket later, stay with family, return with someone, or simply have rejected the clerk's suggestion without considering its significance. The forgotten charger creates the opposite impression. It suggests a journey short enough that he did not expect to need it, or a hurried departure by someone focused only on reaching the next step. The £200 suggests preparation, but the money left at home suggests he did not take everything available to him. The passport left behind suggests he was not preparing for international travel, but it tells us little about what he expected inside London. Every object points in more than one direction. That is why Andrew's belongings have generated questions rather than answers. There is also the possibility that the true reason for the journey was emotionally simple. Andrew might have wanted one day of independence, privacy, music, exploration, or escape from routine without intending to frighten anyone. A choice that felt temporary at 8 o'clock in the morning could have placed him in danger by noon. The original reason for leaving may therefore be completely different from the reason he never returned. This separation between motive and outcome is one of the most important ways to understand the case. Andrew may have chosen the journey, but that does not mean he chose the disappearance. For years, the public has tried to solve the case through concerts, shops, internet activity, sightings, photographs, and theories about hidden relationships. But speculation can easily turn a real child and a grieving family into characters in a story rather than people living with permanent uncertainty. Missing People warns that unverified speculation can increase the harm experienced by families and encourages responsible storytelling centered on the person rather than entertainment. The confirmed story is already powerful enough. Andrew was 14, traveled from Doncaster to London alone with £200, and was last seen leaving King's Cross Station on September 14, 2007. No confirmed sighting has placed him in a shop, venue, home, street, or vehicle afterward. No publicly verified message has explained why he went, and no discovery has established where the journey ended. For Andrew's family, the years are measured not only by anniversaries but by milestones he should have reached. Birthdays, education, work, friendships, and ordinary adulthood all exist as possibilities rather than shared memories. His father has written about the lasting psychological impact of having a child missing, describing grief that does not become simpler merely because time passes. The uncertainty keeps the loss unresolved because hope and fear are forced to exist together. This is known as ambiguous loss. The person is absent, but there is no confirmed ending that allows the family to understand how to grieve. Every possibility remains partly open, including the possibility that the missing person is alive. That hope is why appeals continue. An unusual ear, hearing loss, an incomplete life history, or a person who avoids official records might one day connect an adult stranger back to the boy in the King's Cross footage. It is also possible that someone already knows what happened. They may have seen Andrew that day, assisted him later, heard a private admission, or recognized a detail without understanding its importance. Cold cases often change when a person decides that an old memory or secret can no longer remain private. A small detail that seemed meaningless in 2007 could become crucial when placed beside the confirmed timeline. The image that remains is painfully ordinary. Andrew walks through the King's Cross exit wearing a dark t-shirt, carrying his bag, and moving into the daylight with no visible sign that the moment will define his family's life for years. The camera does not show a crime. It shows a child completing the journey he had planned and entering the part no one has ever reconstructed. Perhaps Andrew turned toward the underground. Perhaps he continued on foot, met someone outside, went to a familiar place, or changed his plan after arriving. Every direction was possible at 11:25 a.m. By the end of the day, none of those directions had produced a confirmed path home. That is why the disappearance continues to disturb people. The train did not vanish, the station did not vanish, and Andrew was clearly visible until the exact moment he entered the city. The mystery begins not with a missing journey, but with a journey whose beginning was documented almost step by step. The final answer is hidden somewhere after the last open door. Andrew Gosden bought a one-way ticket, but no one knows whether he intended the journey itself to be one-way. The ticket may describe his plan, or it may be an ordinary teenage choice that became meaningful only because he never returned. What is certain is that a 14-year-old left Doncaster, arrived in London, and walked out of King's Cross alone. What happened after that remains one of Britain's most haunting unresolved disappearances.